I feel quite convinced, children, that none of you would have hesitated for a moment to go with good, kind Nutcracker, who had always shown himself to be such a charming person, and Marie was all the more disposed to do as he asked her, because she knew what her just claims on his gratitude were, and was sure that he would keep his word and show her all sorts of beautiful things. So she said, "I will go with you, dear Mistress Drosselmeyer, but it mustn't be very far, and it won't do to be very long, because, you know, I haven't had any sleep yet." "Then we will go by the shortest route," said Nutcracker, "although it is perhaps rather the most difficult." He went on in front, followed by Marie, till he stopped before the big old wardrobe. Marie was surprised to see that, though it was generally shut, the doors of it were now wide open, so that she could see her father's traveling cloak of fox fur hanging in the front. Nutcracker clambered deftly up this cloak by the edgings and trimmings of it, so as to get hold of the big tassel which was fastened at the back of it with a thick cord. He gave this tassel a tug, and a pretty little ladder of cedar wood let itself quickly down through one of the armholes of the cloak. "Oh, now, Miss Jawbone, step up that ladder, if you will be so kind," said Nutcracker. Marie did so, but as soon as she had got up through the armhole and began to look out at the neck, a dazzling light came streaming on her, and she found herself standing on a lovely, sweet-scented meadow, from which millions of sparks were streaming upward like the glitter of beautiful gems. "This is Candy Mead, where we are now," said Nutcracker, "but we'll get in at that gate there." Marie looked up and saw a beautiful gateway on the meadow, only a few steps off. It seemed to be made of white, brown, and raisin-colored marble, but when she came close to it, she saw it was all of baked sugar almonds and raisins, which, as Nutcracker said when they were going through it, was the reason it was called Almond and Raisin Gate. There was a gallery running round the upper part of it, apparently made of barley sugar, and in this gallery 6 monkeys, dressed in red doublets, were playing on brass instruments in the most delightful manner ever heard. Oh, it was all that Marie could do to notice that she was walking along upon a beautiful variegated marble pavement, which, however, was really a mosaic of lozenges of all colors. Presently, the sweetest of odors came breathing round her, streaming from a beautiful little wood on both sides of the way. There was such a glittering and sparkling along the dark foliage that one could see all the gold and silver fruits hanging on the many-tinted stems, and those stems and branches were all ornamented and dressed up in ribbons and branches of flowers like brides and bridegrooms and festive wedding guests. And as the orange perfume came wafted, as if on the wings of gentle zephyrs, there was a soughing among the leaves and branches, and all the gold leaf and tinsel rustled and tinkled like beautiful music, to which the sparkling lights could not help dancing. "Oh, how charming this is!" cried Marie, enraptured. "This is Christmas wood, dearest Miss Jawbone," said Nutcracker. "Ah," said Marie, "if I could only stay here for a little. Oh, it's so lovely." Nutcracker clapped his little hands, and immediately there appeared a number of little shepherds and shepherdesses and hunters and huntresses, and so white and delicate that you would have thought they were made of pure sugar, whom Marie had not noticed before, although they had been walking about in the wood. They brought a beautiful gold reclining chair, laid a white satin cushion in it, and politely invited Marie to take a seat. As soon as she did so, the shepherds and shepherdesses danced a pretty ballet, to which the hunters and huntresses all played music on their horns, and then they all disappeared among the thickets. I must really apologize for the poor style in which this dance was executed, dearest Miss Stahlbaum, said Nutcracker. These people all belong to our wire ballet troupe, and can only do the same thing over and over again. Had we not better go on a little farther? Oh, I'm sure it was almost delightful, and I enjoyed it immensely, said Marie, as she stood up and followed Nutcracker, who was leading the way. They went by the side of a gently rippling brook, which seemed to be what was giving out all the perfume which filled the wood. This is Orange Brook, said Nutcracker, but except for its sweet scent, it's nowhere nearly as fine a water as the river Lemonade, a beautiful broad stream which falls, as one does also, into the Almond Milk Sea. And indeed, Marie soon heard a louder plashing and rushing, and came in sight of the river Lemonade, which went rolling along in swelling waves of a yellowish color between banks covered with an herbage and underbrush, which shone the green carbuncles. A remarkable freshness and coolness, strengthening heart and breast, exhaled from this fine river. Not far from it, a dark yellow stream crept sluggishly along, giving a most delicious odor, and on its banks sat numbers of pretty children, angling for little fat fishes, which they ate as soon as they caught them. These fish were very much like filberts, Marie saw when she came closer. A short distance farther, on the banks of this stream, stood a nice little village. The houses of this village and the church, the parsonage, the barns, and so forth, were all dark brown with gilt roofs, and many of the walls looked as if they were plastered over with lemon peel and shelled almonds. That is Gingerthorpe on the Honey River, said Nutcracker. It is famed for the good looks of its inhabitants, but they are very short-tempered people, because they suffer so much from toothache. So we won't go there at present. At this moment, Marie caught sight of a little town, where the houses were all sorts of colors and quite transparent, exceedingly pretty to look at. Nutcracker went on towards this town, and Marie heard a noise of bustle and merriment, and saw some thousands of nice little folks unloading a number of wagons which were drawn up in the marketplace, and what they were unloading from the wagons looked like packages of colored paper and tablets of chocolate. This is Bonbonville, Nutcracker said. An embassy has just arrived from Paperland and the King of Chocolate. These poor Bonbonville people have been vexatiously threatened lately by the Fly Admiral's forces, so they are covering their houses over with their presents from Paperland and constructing fortifications with the fine pieces of workmanship which the Chocolate King has sent them. Dearest Miss Stahlbaum, we're not going to restrict ourselves to seeing the small towns and villages of this country. Let us be off to the metropolis. He stepped quickly onwards, and Marie followed him, all expectation. Soon a beautiful rosy vapor began to rise, suffusing everything with a soft splendor. She saw that this was reflected from rose-red, shining water, which went plashing and rushing away in front of them in wavelets of roseate silver. And on this delightful water, which kept broadening and broadening out wider and wider like a great lake, the loveliest swans were floating, white as silver, with collars of gold, and, as if vying with each other, they were singing the most beautiful songs at which little fish, glittering like diamonds, danced up and down in the rosy ripples. "Oh," cried Marie in the greatest delight. "Oh, this must be the lake which Godpapa Drosselmeyer was once going to make for me, and I am the girl who is to play with the swans." Nutcracker gave a sneering sort of laugh, such as she had never seen in him before, and said, "Oh, my uncle could never make a thing of this kind. Oh, you would be much more likely to do it yourself. But don't let us bother about that. Rather, let us go sailing over the water, like Rosa here, to the metropolis."